Welcome to Real Conversations with Patricia Baranovsky-Schneider, the podcast that takes you on a journey around the world to meet some of the most inspiring and accomplished individuals. Discover their stories, uncover invaluable business lessons from their paths to success, and gain exclusive insights on how to apply their strategies to elevate your life.
Hello, and welcome to Real Conversations with Patricia. I'm your host, Patty Baranovsky-Schneider. Today, I'm joined by Fred Moskowitz. So welcome, Fred. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. Appreciate the invite to come on your show. Yeah, a little bit about me. I started out in life having a very long and successful career working as a computer engineer. And I'll tell you, I spent many years working at different tech companies, startup companies, and it was during a very exciting time. It was during the dot-com boom years, right? Early 2000s. And what happened was I watched the entire industry get flipped upside down because we had the bursting of the dot-com bubble and right around the same time, the September 11th terrorist attacks. And so through all this, I realized that I was way too dependent on the income from my job because it was my only income source. And even though I loved the work I was doing in the tech industry, the reality was that I was working in a job full of all these circumstances outside of my control. And I realized that it didn't matter how talented of an engineer I was or how valuable of an employee I was. If things were not going well at the company financially or in the industry overall, I could quickly lose my job through no fault of my own. And so I came to this realization that I needed to find other sources of income so that I wouldn't be dependent on the paycheck from my job. And this is the mission I've had ever since that time, is sharing the message about, hey, how risky is your paycheck? And are you relying only on one income source? And have you ever thought of diversifying that, right? For those of us that work in the investment space, we always hear this, hey, diversify your investments. Don't have all your eggs in one basket, right? So true. Yeah. However, this also extends to your income. And it doesn't matter whether you are working as an employee in corporate America or you're a business owner earning your income through your business. How risky is that income source? Is that the only one you have? And what would it be like to explore adding some additional streams of income to help you to diversify and to give you more financial resilience in your life?
Well, that's actually super important.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays, like with the economy, you see people cutting back. And like you say, it has nothing to do with your performance. It's just their idea of, slicing budgets is you got to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything goes through cycles. Every industry, the economy as a whole, any industry you're in, whether you're in real estate, you're in finance, you're in tech, they all have their own market cycles, pharma, every industry. And so it's really, really important. There's a really well-known statistic that wealthy people and millionaires, on average, have 7 sources of income. Mm-hmm. 7. And so, you know what? For each of us, we got to start from where we are. Maybe you have 1, or maybe you have 2, or maybe you and your spouse, you have multiple income into the household. Mm-hmm. But what about looking at ways to add more? Add 1 more, add 2 more over time. It doesn't happen overnight. Mm-hmm. But I love sharing about and teaching about different strategies to add cash flow and income into your own personal economy. And it's something I'm really passionate about, sharing that message and really highlighting the importance of putting both attention and intention on that and making a positive change in our lives.
Now, you spoke this a little bit, but I guess what inspired you to transition from a computer engineer in the tech industry to an investor and educator in alternative investments?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I was doing both for a very long time because of my goal, which was I wanted to have multiple income sources. And so I started getting more and more involved in investing and the whole idea of alternative investments, which is buying and building assets, assets that you own, they generate income for you, and you get paid while you wait, which is unlike a lot of the traditional investments, right? The things that Wall Street offerings. I mean, that's a whole area of investing, but a lot of times you don't get paid while you wait. You only get paid at the end when you sell that stock or that mutual fund. And so this is a little bit different. It's getting paid along the way, generating income.
And so, know about.
And so, yeah, and you don't know about this. And I remember when working as an engineer at the company I would be working for, they would have the 401k administrator would send their representatives in to do a little workshop education, and they would teach you all about how to maximize your 401k. And, they would say, teach about, hey, it's important to diversify. You don't put all of your 401k contributions into one thing, right? Spread it out. But here's the little known secret. If you take a time to look at each offering, maybe you have like 6 choices. Usually they give you like a half dozen choices. But every single one of those, it's all in the stock market. Every single one. Yeah, they're different funds. Yeah, they're different investments, but they're all Wall Street. And so if you have 100% of your retirement account invested in the stock market, I wouldn't call that diversification at all, right? What about adding some real estate? What about adding some investments in mortgage notes? What about investing in a small business through business lending? Different ways, different things you can do. They're all separate from each other. They're separate market cycles. And having that true diversification so that if one sector is not doing well, guess what? There's some other different ones that are doing well. And that helps really give stability and resilience. And so this is something over time that I kept focusing on, where I was working and then I would take a portion of my paycheck and dedicate it to investing, right? Because it's not about how you earn your paycheck. It's about what do you do with it after you have it.
How do you make it grow?
Yeah. And this is important. And so I was always very interested in this. And I'll tell you what, Patricia, one day after years of this, one day I realized that I was starting to make enough money, enough income from my investments, and it covered all my living expenses. And so from that day forward, I realized that I would now be working because I wanted to and not because I had to. And it was a huge shift for me. Huge mindset shift. And it's very, very powerful because I'll tell you what, situations come up in life, whether you experience loss of job because of the economy or downturn, or the company you're working at goes under, right? All these scenarios can happen. But what about if you had to take time off from work because you needed to care for a family member that was in poor health, or maybe your own health. You were having some health issues. You had to step away from work for a while. Well, what if you had these life situations and you didn't have to worry about your income being interrupted?
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And so this is very powerful, and it leaves you really well set up. And so this is a big part of my message, and some of the ideas I share about and teach about is how do we utilize and leverage some of these different strategies. And it's not something we learn about in school, right? I certainly didn't. I spent a lot of time in education, learning,
They
getting
just
my
teach you basics,
engineering
yeah.
degree, right? Learning all the things, which is great. But they didn't really teach me much about money, and in particular, how to grow it. And it's something you pursue on your own. You learn on your own. And how do you do it? Well, it's through spending time with successful people. It's through attending workshops and trainings and events that you have to go out of your way to pursue that. That's how you learn a lot of these skills. Reading books, listening to podcasts, right? We have podcasts, we have YouTube, we have so many in this modern era. We have so many ways of education, and digital learning has been exploding, which I love. I think it's very powerful. And now it makes a lot of this accessible to everyone.
Now, you talked a little bit, but I guess, can you explain what a mortgage note investing is and why it's a great option for people?
Yeah, absolutely. So mortgage note investing is one of my favorite strategies. This is where you can invest in a mortgage. You can buy a mortgage on a property, and so the way this is, I'll paint a picture here. A lot of people know about investing in real estate, right? Whether you buy a property and then you rent it out and that generates income for you. It's a great strategy. And a lot of people get involved in it. I think it's a great strategy, it gives tax benefits, but it's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work managing property and handling repairs and tenants and all of this. So what if instead we look at, instead of owning the property and buying the property, we can buy a mortgage which is backed by a property. It's secured by real estate. And a lot of people know about mortgages because it's the financing, it's the debt associated with properties. Banks and lenders, they originate notes, they create them, but a lot of times, most banks and institutions, they sell those. They originate the loan, and then within 3 to 6 months, they sell it on the secondary market. And so there's this huge market where loans are bought and sold every day, and there are transactions of all sizes, right? You have your Wall Street firms and mortgage-backed securities, as well as individual investors, right, down to someone that wants to buy a mortgage note for their retirement account, for their IRA, right? So you have all of these different scenarios. And so investors are able to buy a mortgage note. And when you do that, you're stepping into the shoes of the bank and becoming the lender. And what happens is that you transition from being the one making the monthly payments to being the one receiving the monthly payments. And so this generates a really nice, steady cash flow stream, and it's generating income. And the best part is your investment is backed by real estate. And so it gives you a lot of downside protection. And so that's what mortgage note investing is all about, just as a high level summary. And there's a lot of ways that people can get involved in this, but this is the main area I love speaking about and teaching about.
Nice. Now, you talked a little bit with Wall Street, but I guess explain to people why it's important to look beyond traditional Wall Street investments and what are the key benefits of alternative investments like mortgage notes?
The key benefits are that usually there's downside protection, as I mentioned earlier. Also, you're investing in an asset that you own and control, right? If you buy stock in a company or if you invest in a mutual fund, you have no control over anything, right? But if you buy a property, piece of real estate, a mortgage note, that's now your responsibility to manage and own. And it takes work to keep it working at its highest and best capacity. And so it's an element of self-sufficiency, self-accountability that, yes, you have control, but you also have the responsibility to take care of that asset to maintain its value. Or maybe you buy it and you increase its value, right? Which you can certainly do. And so this is the paradigm shift. It's about being proactive. It's about taking something and building and creating and using your creativity, problem solving skills and know-how, and getting a profit for that.
Yeah,
right?
100%,
Just like if you were to buy, and I'm sure you may have clients in your own business, right? People that buy a business that's underperforming, and they have the skills and knowledge and expertise to turn it around and make it better and grow the revenue. And what happens? Now the value of the business increased, and maybe they can sell it later for a profit, or hold it and earn the income. Right? You have all of these options at your disposal, and that's what it's all about.
Oh, nice. Now, you've spoken about how risky it is to rely solely on a paycheck. So how can professionals mitigate the risk through strategic investing?
It starts with education, right? Learn strategies. There's many different ones, and finding what's right for you. And this is something that can be a very personal decision. It just comes down to each person's individual circumstances and what you can do, and find what works for you. If you have a tax problem, let's say you find that you're paying a lot of money in taxes, that might be a characteristic that's particular to your situation. And so there's certain types of investments that give tax benefits to you. And so that might be a better fit, right? It
depends, yeah.
Yeah, it just depends for each person. You may say, hey, Fred, I love real estate, but I don't have time. I can't deal with tenants. That's not my thing, and repairs and all that work. And so, okay, well, have you considered investing in mortgage notes? Because in this case, all of those responsibilities are on the owner of the property, not on the owner of the note. And so that might be a much better fit. I've had people come to me and say, Fred, hey, I love mortgage notes, but that seems really complicated and I don't have time for that. And so you can, instead of investing in mortgage notes where you're buying individual notes, you can also invest in a mortgage note fund that's managed for you. And now you become a passive investor. That's a whole nother strategy for a lot of people. They like that because, hey, I'm focused on my business, on my career, and I don't have a lot of time. And so I like the idea of being a passive investor. And a mortgage note fund is where the fund managers raise capital from investors, pool it all together, and then they go out in the secondary market, buy notes in bulk quantity, manage a portfolio, and pay out a return for investors. And it's hands off for the investors. And so I find that, hey, for some people, this is a great option. There's no shortage of different ways to get involved. Other people may say, hey, I want to buy a business and invest in that and turn it around. And I have the skills, right? Like the example I used earlier. That could be a different person. And we may have someone else that says, hey, I am really good with construction and renovations. They may buy a piece of property that needs a lot of work and repairs and renovations, and they have the skills and knowledge and know-how to bring in the right contractors, the right people, and fix up the property. And when you do that, it increases the value. So you have all these different scenarios that can be looked at and explored. Right?
Well, like speaking of stuff like that, like how could people leverage their retirement accounts to invest in alternative assets like mortgage notes and other options?
Well, yeah, this is a great question. And this always comes down to, are you someone that has a tax issue, tax liability? So using retirement account money is a great option because it allows you to participate in an investment like mortgage notes, but now you have preferential tax treatment because you're in a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k maybe, or a traditional IRA. You hold the mortgage note inside the retirement account, and there's no taxes due, or the taxes are deferred. It depends on the type of account it is. So it's a great strategy. And I'll tell you something else. Mortgage note investing, you require capital, right? There's no financing involved because it is financing. And so when you buy a mortgage, it has to be purchased with all cash. And so for a lot of people, they may not have the cash in their standard checking account, savings account, but they have an old 401k from a previous employer that they can put to work. And so this can be a great option. And so I love that strategy. In my book about mortgage note investing, I actually have dedicated 2 chapters specifically to the strategies of using your retirement account and how that works and how to do it so that you could purchase and invest in mortgage notes or mortgage note funds using that tax advantage accounts. And it's a great source of capital.
Now, for the mortgage note funds, obviously you don't need $300,000 for a mortgage. It's less payments because you're part of a basket of investors, right?
Yes, that's correct. You're part of something that's larger than you could do yourself, which is nice.
It's an option for people who don't have the cash.
It is. It's a great option. And what I like is there's diversification there, because instead of investing all of your money into one mortgage note, your capital might be spread out over 50 or 100 or 1,000 notes, and it gives you a lot of diversification in that way, which is nice. Yeah. You're diversified across many assets.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, tell us, what are some common investment mistakes that professionals make, and how could they avoid them?
Some of the big ones I see is getting involved with an investment that they don't know anything about and not working with good people, right? That's a big part about it. When you evaluate an investment, you need to perform due diligence and make sure that you verify everything, that that everything is going to be delivered as proposed. But what about, did you do due diligence on the people involved? Right? And this goes for any business transaction, whether it's a customer, a business partner, client. You gotta look at the people. Are they people you want to be dealing with in general? Because I'll tell you what, if you overlook that and you get involved in an investment or in a transaction with someone that's just creating stress and resistance and complaining all the time, that's not good. It's a lot of aggravation, right? And so you always want to look at that. I always say, yes, look at the investment, but also go one step further, look at the people involved, and are they people you want to be working with? Because I'll tell you what, if things go well, you're building a very long-term relationship that will continue on into the future, and that can be very powerful. And so make sure these are people that you want to work with, that you're going to enjoy, have a pleasant experience, both from an energetic perspective as well as profitable, of course. So if you're missing either of those two elements, it's not good. So that's a big one. Also, not starting with getting educated first. That's another mistake I see. Don't rush out and do something. Get educated first. Take time to learn, understand, and build relationships. Are you putting yourself around people that are successful at the thing that you want to do? That's a huge area that we can all benefit from, is being around like-minded individuals that are doing well and successful.
Even in terms of if they went with the fund route and had a broker or whatnot, doing your due diligence on them too, because I've seen time and time again, the broker's job is to make money, but it gets a little tricky. Just do your due diligence on them, because it doesn't always work out to your advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now tell us, what strategies do you recommend for professionals to cultivate a resilient and growth-oriented wealth mindset?
Well, the biggest strategy is to start spending time around people that are successful. Find other people that are successful, business owners, investors. And where do you find people, right? Well, you attend events, attend workshops, trainings, conferences. Because when you go, I attend mortgage note conferences across the country. And when I go to one of those, who else is there? Hundreds of people from the same industry. And you get to know people and build relationships, and that's great. But it's very powerful, because you're around people that are at a higher level than you are in experience and expertise. You'll be around other people that are at the same level you are. And that's great too, because you network and build relationships. Very powerful. In the note industry, relationships is one of the most important aspects of it to do well, because we buy and sell notes from each other. We ask for references and referrals for different vendors and services that we need. And yes, it's particular to the industry I'm in, but I would say this goes for any area of business, any area of life. Put yourself around people that are successful and see how you can add value to them. And you're going to learn along the way, just based on the conversations that you're having, just based on the different events you'll get invited to.
And just learning from them one another, because you might think one thing, but now you're interacting with people and doing what you wanted to do and realize, oh, you know what? I didn't realize this was involved. It's not my thing. You
Right.
might know.
Yeah, or maybe you're faced with a problem, you don't know what to do, and you're in a room full of people that there's bound to be a few of them that have been through that already once before, and you could ask for advice and guidance.
Yeah,
Or maybe
100%.
someone's asking you for advice and guidance, and
Yeah.
you help, you pay it forward too.
Right.
It
Yeah.
works both ways, right?
Right.
It's a environment of giving and receiving.
Right. Now tell us, what were some of the most significant challenges you faced transitioning to an investor? And what lessons did you learn along the way?
Well, some of the most significant challenges is that you're always going to be hit with surprises, challenges, right? I don't care if you're an investor, if you're a business owner, things are going to happen totally out of your control, unexpected, and sometimes not what you want. And so having a strong support network around you is huge. Whether you have a coach or a mentor or colleagues, or maybe you're in a mastermind group with other people or a professional association, you always have other people that you can talk to and bounce ideas. Or if you have you work in the PR world, right? So I can imagine that your contact list and Rolodex is expansive. And so if one of your clients had an issue and they came to you asking about a particular problem, and you may say, hey, I know exactly who you could talk to. Maybe they were a vendor that provides a service that solves the need, or it's someone that has been facing the same scenario, right? And now you connect the dots there. That's very powerful. The power of relationships and the power of your network. This is an area I feel that a lot of people don't appreciate the value of it. And it's an area that I invest in every single day, is building relationships, nurturing relationships, because it's very powerful, and it's something that you can never lose, or it can never be taken away from you, right? You could lose all your money, all your material things, but not your relationships. They're not going to be taken away from you. And that same goes for your knowledge and expertise. You won't lose that.
Well, even with me, like going to events, and even with the podcast, I do IR, PR marketing, and I'll have other people from that niche on a podcast, and I would have friends say, oh, they're a competition. First of all, it's a big world out there. Second, you never know who knows somebody. Maybe I do something they don't. Maybe they do something I don't. Maybe I can help someone you can't, vice versa. It's just, I go to events. I try to network with other people because it is true. And someone who might be doing this today, I've had people in this industry who left the industry and became the CEO of another company. Well, maybe now you'll hire me. So you never know. It just, I agree. Just network and build your relationships. So now, what advice would you give to someone just starting out on their journey to financial freedom and considering alternative investments?
For someone starting out, I would say have a plan, come up with a plan to be constantly saving and investing a portion of your income, and also invest in your own education and learning. Right, whether that is through podcasts and books and online content, as well as attending events and conferences that are relevant for you. These are all ways to expand your skills when you're starting out.
And nowadays, it's not that you have physically, everything now would assume you don't have to physically be places, you could do them remote, so there's no excuses.
Yeah, this is so true.
Yeah. Now, anything you want to add that we didn't already talk about?
I would say that we're faced with unprecedented times right now. There's a lot of turmoil out there in the world, a lot of noise. Don't get thrown off from that. Like, really have a plan, build your relationships, focus on that, double down on the relationships, and spend time every day. That's something I do religiously, and it has really just grown and expanded so much. And when you are out there in the world, seek to add value to others in everything you do.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. So a lot of people that go through life take. Well, what if you give as well? Or do that first? I guarantee that when you help others and give of yourself, it's going to come back to you many times over. And most likely it'll be from a different place than where you directed that energy initially.
Well said. Now, how could people find your book? Like, what's it called? Where do they find it? And how could they get a hold of you?
My book, thank you. My book is called The Little Green Book of Note Investing. It's available on Amazon. You can search for it by title or search for it by my name, Fred Moskowitz. And for anyone that would like to get a hold of me, connect with me, I invite you, come to my website, which is fredmoskowitz.com. And if you prefer a little bit of an easier spelling, you can go to giftfromfred.com and it'll take you right to my website. And when you're there, you can connect with me, send a message. I have a free newsletter you can sign up for, talking about investing and alternative investments. And I also have a special report about note investing that I'd be happy to send to anyone that wants to request that. Just go to giftfromfred.com, and I look forward to connecting with each and every one of you.
Thanks. Well, thank you again for being on the show. Again, that was Fred Moskowitz. So thanks for listening to Real Conversations with Patricia. Never miss an episode by subscribing to the channel. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Real Conversations with Patricia, talking with some of the most brilliant minds on their journey to success and their recommended strategies. Please leave your feedback and visit pristineadvisors.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Feel free to let me know your thoughts, suggestions, and anything else you'd like me to cover. Together, we can make success happen for all.